So I'm going to guess that it was the year 2009. I had my motorcycle license, hence the motorcycle, for about a year and a half, I think. And I was riding my little Sportster to and from work, about 25 miles each way. But November rolled around and it was our wedding anniversary, beginning of November. And it was a beautiful, beautiful day, early November. So I rode my motorcycle to work. At that time, I was piloting a Harley Sportster, and we had a friend of ours actually who had left his Honda with us so that we could keep it going and ride it while he was deployed overseas. So a lot of times I'd ride the Honda just to keep it running, but this particular time I rode my Harley, and boy was I glad I did. So I rode to work, and the weather was just so beautiful. My husband and I decided, okay, leave early. I'm going to leave early for work, and I'm going to ride from where my work was in Chantilly out to a meeting spot called Gilbert's Corner. And my husband was going to ride his Harley from Warrenton and meet me there. And then we would go out to Middleburg, which is a charming little horse town here in the Northern Virginia area. And they had a cool little restaurant we liked to visit. So that was our plan to celebrate our anniversary. So I left work early. I rode to Gilbert's Corner, met up with my husband. We had a lovely dinner. By the time dinner was over, though, obviously it's starting to get dark. Now, I was used to riding home in the dark from work. That wasn't a problem. But Middleburg was out in the country, and the road that we took to get home from Middleburg was basically a bunch of country lanes. So it wound up through all these wineries and horse farms, and then through the plains, and then after we got through the plains, then we would finally be on like a regular highway with lights and other vehicles. But I wasn't worried, you know. We'd had a lovely day. So we had headsets. I'm not sure we had them on that day, like so that we could communicate back and forth between his bike and my bike. Anyways, he was out front and I was behind, and his bike was a lot more powerful than mine. And he was a much more experienced rider, so he would oftentimes go quite a bit faster than me. But anyways, he was out front and I could still see him, and we were on this little country lane. And I noticed that a deer ran across behind him. So the rule of deer is they're never alone, generally speaking. So if you see one, you kind of wait for the other few to follow along. So I kind of rolled off the throttle, and I was waiting for the other deer to pass. I mean, I was still moving, but I was going, I don't know, I guess I dropped down from, I'm going to say 50 down to maybe 40, 35, I don't know. I slowed down waiting for this, the rest of the deer to cross the road, and nobody came. Like, well, okay, I guess that was an odd one, and it was by itself. So I rolled back onto the throttle, or increased the throttle, I should say. And wouldn't you know it, here comes this deer flying from the left side of the woods, coming towards me. So here's me, here's the deer. The deer was going quickly. He was trying to judge the speed of my bike. By the time I saw the deer, I realized that I couldn't brake. I would try to go a little bit faster to see if I could, get in front of him before it let him pass behind me. Neither one of us did a very good job of judging, neither the deer nor I, because the deer ran into my left thigh. So here I am, I'm on my bike, here's this deer, he comes right up to me and realizes he's not going to clear me, and so he turns, and in the process of turning, his right rear flank banged up against my left thigh, and, just kind of bonked me a little bit, and then he turned around and hightailed back into the woods. Well, I managed to stay upright. Always want to keep the rubber on the road and the shiny side up. But I was like, I was a little bit freaked out. And I'm trying to get my husband's attention to let him know I need to pull over and collect myself, because I was shaking and my adrenaline was going off the charts. Anyways, and I'm hitting my horn and I'm flashing my lights, and he was oblivious. He didn't see me, he didn't hear me. He just kept motoring through. So we finally got to the plains, where we were down to like 15 mile an hour through this little village, and I managed to get his attention and get him to pull over. So we pulled over, and I explained to him what happened. It's like, I was hit by a deer. I was trying to get you. So anyways, took a deep breath. We all calmed down. I calmed down. So then he decides, okay, we still need to get home. And now it's super dark. And we still had a little bit of country lane activity to get through, and then we would be back on a highway to get through to Warrenton. So he says, okay, you go out in front of me so I can keep an eye on you, and if you have any trouble, then I will know about it because I will see it. I was like, okay, cool. So I pull out in front, and we get onto 211, and we hightail it into Warrenton. We go through downtown Warrenton, and we live on the other side of Warrenton. So as I'm getting ready to make the turn onto the road that leads to our road, it's a traffic light, and I hit that traffic light. I went through that intersection every single day, twice a day, for decades. So I had a green light. So I slowed down enough to make sure that, no idiot was going to run through their yellow light or whatever. And I banked to make the turn, and as I turned onto our road, on the hill, on the other side of the road, in a place I had never, ever seen a deer before, a buck comes charging down the hill and runs right out in front of me. And I mean, he was close enough that I could smell him, because it was rut. He was in rut, so it was mating season. So they give off a certain lovely pungent odor. And he ran right in front of me. And I managed to slow down enough that I didn't hit him. And then he took off. But, he was like that close. Oh, mercy. So I took that as my guidance from the Lord that, okay, maybe in the fall you shouldn't be out riding your bike after dark. So that is when I began my motorcycle mantra, I called it. Anytime I was out on my bike, I said a prayer over and over again. Dear Lord, please keep all of the woodland creatures in the woods where they belong. And I would say over and over, Dear Lord, please keep all the woodland creatures in the woods where they belong. And that was the only time I actually had that close of an encounter with a deer. As harrowing as it was, nobody got hurt, and thankfully I was on my bike instead of on my friend's Honda, because the Harley's all steel, so it was heavy enough that the deer bumping into me wasn't enough to knock me over. So I was able to keep it upright and keep motoring. But that was exciting. So that is my dear Harley story, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope if you're a rider that you're staying safe. Take care, and God bless.